Have you ever thought about what it would be like to live in the Wild West? Welcome to our channel. Today, we're taking a journey back in time to explore the captivating era of the Wild West in American history. From the vast open plains to the rugged frontier towns, life in the Wild West was characterized by adventure, hardship, and untamed freedom. Join us as we delve into the myths, legends, and realities of this iconic period, uncovering the stories of cowboys, outlaws, pioneers, and Native Americans who shaped the landscape of the American West. It's interesting to note that attitudes have a big say in the lawless West stories we hear, many of which have been altered to help give a clear picture of what was going on there. Western life was quite complicated. One of the most lawless places, Dodge City for instance, is misrepresented by myths about gun violence and other issues. It does not, however, imply that living there was secure. It's not what the films portray, it is dangerous. Many individuals wish they had grown up in a different era just to get a taste of what it looked like because so many films glorify life in the Wild West. However, how did people survive during the bygone era of cowboys and outlaws? The West had rampant illnesses. Many people assumed there would be gun violence when Dr. Jim Kornberg wrote an article about the fastest killer in the Old West for True West magazine. Nevertheless, to the amazement of many, it turned out to be cholera. After all, cholera kills a lot more people every day than a bullet, which can only manage to kill a small number of people. For example, the Old West experienced a severe cholera outbreak in 1873. The medical community at the time understood that bodily fluids transmitted cholera toxin during the pandemic. As a result, Dr. John M. Woodworth told Congress in a 1,144-page study that cleaning everything was the only way to slow the spread. Sadly, finding a disinfectant in the West was difficult because so many people had died from one sickness that was ruining livelihoods and lives. Even worse, the National Park Service claims that in addition to smallpox, pneumonia, measles, diarrhea, and scurvy, the West also suffered from other illnesses. Spanish settlers in the American West were the ones who introduced smallpox to the region. Nearly 90% of Native Americans in North and Southern America perished from it and other European diseases. In addition, it resulted in horrific incidents, according to historian David Derry's account of the event via the New York Times. He learned that an Apache medicine man had shot 2 infants dead after diagnosing them with smallpox and placing them together. Numerous killings. You could comprehend that there were dead bodies strewn about if you watched any Hollywood Western. Nobody was secure in the Wild West. Everyone had either escaped or put up with the murders. However, according to Terry Anderson, an emeritus professor of economics at Montana State University, Live Science noted that some incidents in the Wild West are overblown in the films. Furthermore, he shows that while there were many cases in which people used peaceful means to resolve conflicts, there were also a lot of instances in which they did not. The fact remains that hardships were associated with living in the Wild West. Residents of Dodge City had a 1 in 61 chance of dying between 1876 and 1885, according to research on homicide rates in the Wild West conducted by the Ohio State University's Criminal Justice Research Center. According to the research center, there were roughly 165 homicides for every 100,000 people. As a result, individuals always lived in terror of dying a violent end. It was your luck to travel to the Wild West. You had to figure out the safest path to get there before you could consider survival in the Wild West. Sadly, it wasn't that simple, and there was a possibility you would pass away in the process. While these were the most frequent causes of mortality along the Oregon Trail, there were additional hazards. A stampeding herd might kill passengers within wagon trains, and rattlesnake bites may be fatal. Riding accidents resulted in deaths because most people traveled with their animals, which included horses, oxen, and other animals. The worst part of it all was when people were crushed by wheels or other wagons, even though people were kicked and murdered in stampedes. Numerous Native Americans have died. It is essential to identify the individuals most impacted by death in the Old West while talking about it. Numerous Native Americans who had inhabited their territory for many centuries perished. It is thought that when Christopher Columbus sailed up, North America was home to between 5 million and 15 million people. However, the exact numbers are unclear. Historical records reveal an exciting decline in population, down to 238,000 at the end of the 19th century. The exact explanation of what transpired is difficult and complex. Nonetheless, those numerous fatalities have a few important contributing factors. According to history, smallpox was a significant factor in those many deaths. History also shows that a succession of conflicts reduced the population faster. The War of Seminole, the War of 1812, and the Tippecanoe Battle were among them. Numerous Native Americans perished during the 1830s as a result of forced relocations known as the Trail of Tears. Many people were forcibly relocated to a chosen area by the United States government. People were consequently compelled to travel thousands of miles from their places of residence. Naturally, some of them perished in the process. In the end, the only Native Americans to survive the Old West, apart from the majority, were the outstanding ones. The diseases were not as dangerous as the cures. The historian David Derry delves closely into the unsettling state of doctors in the Wild West in his book Frontier Medicine. He learned that the medical professionals were dishonest and gave out medications that did more harm than good in terms of illness or injury. Many patients were left with no choice but to nurse their issues, trust the doctors, or give up. The doctor could exacerbate the situation if he showed up. Many patients turned to self-medication as a way to cure chronic diseases because of the challenging treatment environment. Numerous Chinese immigrants have died as a result of racism and xenophobia. According to the Library of Congress, Chinese immigrants arrived in large numbers during the Gold Rush. It is reported that 20,000 Chinese immigrants arrived in California in 1852. There was a significant dispute among the Chinese people, and the government appeared to support it somehow. Chinese miners were required to pay $20, $675 in today's money, each month under the foreign miners' license law to be employed in the mines. It was hard to live in the Wild West. The hardships of the Wild West are incomparable to the difficulties we confront today. Many people died during the period, starting with those who were traveling to the Old West for immigration. Worse yet, a significant number of people died as a result of the spread of diseases like dysentery, smallpox, cholera, and measles. In addition, there was an extremely high chance of violent fatalities, which caused many to either run away or live in fear. How do you feel? Would you have made it across the Wild West given the complex and hazardous conditions? Many people, I imagine, would have enjoyed living in this era, that is, if they were willing to risk their lives to do so. We hope that this comprehensive look at American history has been enjoyable as we end our tour through the Wild West. The Wild West never captivates our interest, from its wild frontier to the mythical characters that wander its terrain. Remember to subscribe, like, and share for more exciting content. Till then, maintain your curiosity and never stop exploring.